Welcome, dear listener, to Whispers of the Night, to a world where the night sky holds stories untold. Tonight, we journey to a quiet village beneath the velvet dark, where a boy named Lucien discovers a secret as old as the stars themselves. In the hush of twilight, the sky does not simply exist, is painted, every twinkle, every shimmer, born from the dreams of those who dare to hope. Close your eyes, breathe slowly, and step softly into the meadow with Lucien. Let your mind wander beyond rooftops, past the gentle glow of lanterns, and into the hush of a midnight sky that waits to be filled with color. Here, magic is gentle and waiting. Let us begin. Breathe in and slowly breathe out. Imagine the hush of the village at night, rooftops resting under a blanket of silver light. You walk beside Lucien, past the soft rustle of leaves and the quiet whisper of the wind through the meadow. Every star above seems alive, each one a story, a dream, a hope reaching out. Notice the soft flicker of the sky painter's brush as it arcs across the sky, tracing gentle silver lines. Let your mind drift with the floating light's golden laughter, silver wishes, pale pearls of hope, peach one rising from hearts below. Feel the calm spread through your chest, filling you with warmth, peace, and wonder. Every breath syncs with the quiet rhythm of the night, slow and steady, and you feel lighter, lighter than the day, lighter than your thoughts. Watch the constellations shimmer softly, connecting the dreams, stretching endlessly across the sky. You are safe, you are still. The night cradles you, the stars are alive, and you are part of this quiet magic. Let your thoughts fade gently as the sky continues to glow, each streak of light a reminder that even the smallest hope shines. And now your mind is free to rest, gently drifting toward the embrace of sleep. The sky painter's midnight brush. The boy who loved the stars. Lucien was a boy who belonged to the night almost as much as he did to the day, while other children filled their hours with games and chatter. Lucien's heart beat for something quieter, something larger than himself, something that waited far above the rooftops, hidden in the velvet sky every evening. Once the lamps in the village were dimmed and the whispers of neighbors faded to silence, Lucien would slip away. Barefoot, he padded across the creaking floorboards of his family's cottage, careful not to wake his grandmother sleeping by the hearth. He would lift the latch gently, step into the cool embrace of the air, and make his way to the meadow just beyond the last row of trees. The meadow was his secret kingdom. Grass swayed like a tide in the moonlight, and the scent of earth and wildflowers mingled in the cool air. There, lying on his back, with his messy dark hair spread like ink. Upon the ground Lucien would gaze upward. His wide, curious eyes searched the heavens with a devotion usually reserved for prayers. And what he noticed, night after night, was something most others overlooked. The stars were never the same. Sometimes they blazed fiercely, as if sharpened by fire. Other times they softened into pale smudges of silver mist, quiet and shy. Some nights the constellations seemed to lean closer, like old friends whispering secrets. On others they scattered wide, aloof and distant to Lucien. It was as though someone unseen repainted the sky each evening, a new design, a fresh breath of beauty. He kept these thoughts close, for he had learned that adults were quick to laugh when he shared them. "The stars are stars, boy," they would say with a chuckle. "They don't change, not really. It's just your eyes playing tricks." But Lucien knew better. His heart insisted there was more. One particular night, when the summer air hummed with crickets and the moon hung low and round, Lucien's suspicion deepened into certainty. For as he lay in the meadow, he saw it something unusual, something impossible to dismiss, a shimmer. It wasn't like a star, nor the glow of a firefly. This light moved differently, as though it carried purpose. It drifted across the hillside, leaving a faint trail of silver dust in its wake, barely visible, yet enough to stir wonder in Lucien's chest. Without a second thought, Lucien rose, his bare feet pressed against the damp grass as he followed the light. Step by step, his heart raced not with fear, but with a curiosity so strong it felt like the stars themselves were pulling him forward. The shimmer climbed higher up the hill, until at last Lucien reached the crest, and there, silhouetted against the endless sweep of the night sky, he saw a figure, tall and otherworldly. The being seemed woven from shadow and starlight. Flowing robes rippled in the breeze like smoke, shifting between deep blues and glimmers of silver. In their hand they held a brush long and slender, its bristles aglow with liquid light. Lucien froze, breath caught in his throat. The figure lifted the brush gracefully, as though conducting a silent symphony. With each stroke across the air, streaks of silver and gold unfurled, stars blazed awake, constellations tightened into place, and a soft veil of milky light spread across the sky like spilled lantern oil. It was painting. The sky itself was being painted, right before Lucien's eyes. His wide eyes grew wider still, his messy hair falling into them as he whispered. The sky painter, the words escaped him before he could hold them back. The figure paused, turning slowly, robes stirring like clouds. Their face was partly hidden beneath a hood, yet Lucien felt the weight of their gaze that was not unkind but piercing, as if it could see not just the boy, but every dream he had ever held. "You see me," the sky painter said softly. Their voice was neither male nor female, but a music of tones, like wind threading through chimes. Lucien's throat tightened. He wanted to nod, to speak, but the wonder held him still. At last, he managed a small whisper. "I knew the stars were never the same. I knew someone must," his words tangled, "must be painting them." The sky painter studied him for a long moment, then, slowly, they lowered the glowing brush, the bristles dripping trails of silver that fell like sparks before vanishing. Few notice, they murmured. Fewer still believe what they notice. And rarer than both is a child who dares to follow the shimmer. The words wrapped around Lucien's heart like a secret blessing. "Why do you paint them?" he asked, his voice steadier now, though it trembled with awe. The sky painter lifted their gaze back to the heavens. "The stars are not merely lights, little dreamer. They are the stories of the night. Each stroke sets a tale, in place a reminder, a guide, a song for those who wander." They lifted the brush again and swept it gently across the air. With the motion, a cluster of stars brightened, aligning into the shape of a bird mid-flight. Patterns are maps. For others, they are prayers. And for some, they are simply beauty afford to soothe the weary. Lucien's eyes shone, reflecting the stars like tiny mirrors. "And you make them all?" The sky painter smiled, though Lucien could not see the face clearly. Only the faint softening of their voice betrayed it. "I guide the canvas," they replied, "but the light itself belongs to something greater, something older than time. I only carry the brush." Lucien hugged his knees, staring upward. His heart swelled with questions. How long had this guardian painted the night? Did anyone else know? Could the brush ever fall silent? But before he could ask, the sky painter leaned closer, their robes whispering against the grass. "Tell me, boy who loves the stars," they said gently, "why do you watch them so closely? What do you hope to find?" Lucien blinked, startled by the question. He thought of the countless nights he had spent in the meadow, staring until his eyes blurred. He thought of the loneliness that sometimes crept in when the world around him felt too small, too ordinary. And he thought of the feeling that the stars, those shifting, living lights, held something just for him. "I think," Lucien whispered, his voice trembling but honest, "I think I'm waiting for them to answer me, to tell me something, to remind me that I belong to them, just a little bit." For a long moment, the sky painter was silent. Then they lifted the glowing brush, and with one tender stroke, drew a single star, brighter than the rest, right above Lucien's head. "That one," the sky painter said softly, "will be yours. Not because it belongs to you, but because you noticed it first." Lucien's breath caught. He tilted his head back, eyes filling with tears he didn't quite understand. Above him, the star glowed steady and gentle, as if winking just for him. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice shaking with both joy and disbelief. The sky painter straightened, brush glowing brighter now, and with each sweeping motion, the heavens shimmered into deeper, richer patterns. Whole constellations shifted and renewed themselves, as though a new story were unfolding across the velvet expanse. Lucien lay back down on the meadow, his gaze never leaving the painter at work. His heart was no longer restless. It pulsed with wonder, with belonging, with a quiet certainty that he had found what he had always searched for. Above, the stars gleamed freshly painted, each one a drop of meaning, and beside them, Lucien's own star shone patiently, as if whispering, "You are seen." The night deepened. The sky painter continued their work, and the boy who loved the stars drifted into dreams beneath the brushstrokes of the universe. the brush of dreams. Lucien could not take his eyes off the glowing brush. It shimmered like no earthly thing he had ever seen, its bristles alive, with shifting colors, flowing one into another like water lit from within. At one moment it gleamed silver, in another it bled into hues of gold, then deepened to shades of indigo that seemed to hold entire galaxies. It was not paint, not as Lucien knew it. The light swirled too vividly, pulsing as if it carried a heartbeat. The boy leaned forward, whispering without realizing it. "What is it made of?" The sky painter tilted their hooded head. "Not paint," they said gently. "Not ink. Not any pigment born of earth. This brush drinks from a well far deeper. It uses the colors of human dreams." Lucien's eyes widened. Dreams. The painter turned back toward the heavens, raising the brush. With a slow, graceful sweep, they pulled a ribbon of violet across the night. It glowed, rippling like silk, then scattered into tiny sparks that hardened into a string of stars. Lucien's heart leaped. That was someone's dream. Yes. The sky painter's voice was soft, like the hush of wind over tall grass. Dreams rise when hearts grow quiet. Hope, longing, laughter, even sorrow, all drift upward like mist. I gather them, bind them, and weave them into light. They dipped the brush again, but this time Lucien noticed something new. A faint shimmer gathering in the air around them. It wasn't starlight exactly, nor fireflies. It looked like fragments of memories, small glowing motes rising like fire. Sparks from an unseen hearth. Some glittered bright with laughter. Others glowed faintly blue, as if heavy with longing. Still others shimmered pale, delicate as whispered prayers. Lucien held his breath. The painter swept the brush through the motes, and they melted into color-liquid joy and sorrow, blending into brilliance. With another stroke, the sky bloomed with a cluster of fresh stars, bright as the eyes of children who had wished before sleep. Each star, the painter explained, is not born alone. It is shaped by the echoes of many hearts. Every shooting star you've seen streak across the night. That is a stroke of hope, too swift to hold. A dream breaking free before it can be caught. Constellations, too, are more than patterns. They are woven from wishes that find one another, connected across distance. Lucien shivered with awe. His small hands gripped the grass as though it could anchor him to the earth, while his mind soared upward with the truth. "Does that mean," he whispered, "that everyone's dreams are up there?" "Not all," the painter said softly. "Some dreams are too heavy, sinking back into silence before they can rise. Some are locked away by fear, forgotten before they are spoken, even to oneself. But the dreams that breathe, the ones people dare to release, those climb to me, and I turn them into light." Lucien fell quiet. He thought of his own dreams, wild, tumbling things that came at night when he lay in the meadow. Dreams of flying, of finding a home among the stars, of never being too small to matter. Did those drift upward too? Did the sky painter catch them? Almost as if hearing his thought, the painter dipped their brush and lifted it toward him. A faint glow hovered at the tip, familiar, warm. It pulsed with a rhythm that matched the beating of Lucien's heart. "This," the painter murmured, is one of yours," Lucien gasped. The light was so bright, it almost hurt to look at. It was filled with longing, but also with joy. It was the color of every night he had spent staring upward, believing the stars were alive. "Is it strong enough?" he asked timidly. The painters smiled with their voice. "Even the smallest dream can outshine the darkest sky, if it is tended with wonder." With a careful motion, they lifted the brush and swept the glowing drop into the heavens. Above, a tiny star blinked awake, burning gently, and settled near the brighter star the painter had gifted Lucien the night before. Two lights now, one given, one born. Lucien's chest ached with something fierce and tender all at once. "Then the stars really do depend on us." "Yes," the sky painter's voice deepened, carrying the weight of truth. "Without dreams, there would be no colors for the brush, no stories to weave. The night would grow empty. The canvas would fade to nothing but shadow." The words pressed heavy on Lucien's heart. He imagined a sky without stars, a void where constellations had once danced. The thought filled him with sorrow deeper than he had ever known. "But people always dream, don't they?" he asked, his voice suddenly small. "Even if they're sad or tired or afraid, don't they still dream?" The painter paused, their gaze fixed on the heavens. "Not always. There are times when hope dims, when hearts forget how to lift their wishes upward. In such nights, my brush grows heavy, and the stars grow faint. That is why the act of dreaming of hoping is not small at all. It is a gift to the world." Lucien hugged his knees again, resting his chin against them. His eyes wandered to the star that now bore his dream. It glowed softly, as though reassuring him that his hope mattered. He felt both tiny and infinite. "How do you know which dreams to choose?" he asked after a while. The painter dipped the brush once more, gathering motes of light. "I do not choose," they said. "The dreams choose themselves. The strongest rise, the brightest gather, the most tender cling together. I merely shape what is offered." Lucien watched closely. He saw how laughter, bright as gold, blended with longing, blue as twilight. A streak of green, a dream of growths, slipped into the mix. Together, they formed a spray of stars that curved across the heavens, like a bow arched against the night. "It's beautiful," he whispered. "It is human," the painter replied. "For beauty is nothing more than the truth of the heart, allowed to shine." The night deepened. A meteor streaked suddenly across the horizon, long and luminous. Lucien leaped to his feet, pointing. "A shooting star." The painter nodded. "A hope too swift to be caught. Some are fleeting wishes, whispered at the edge of sleep. Others are sparks of courage that vanish before they can be acted upon. Still, even in passing, they brighten the night. Even in fading, they are never wasted." Lucien's eyes followed the trail until it disappeared. He thought about the people making those wishes, farmers hoping for rain, children whispering for love, travelers longing to return home. The idea that their voices joined together above him filled him with warmth. He turned back to the sky painter, his voice earnest. "Then I'll keep dreaming every night. I'll send as many as I can, so you'll never run out of colors." The painter's robes shifted, glimmering like liquid moonlight. They lowered their brush, for every dream is a light, and together they keep the night alive. Lucien nodded, his wide eyes shining with determination. He felt, for the first time, that his small heart carried a task far greater than himself. Above him, the stars seemed brighter than ever before. The constellations pulsed with hidden stories, each one woven from the laughter, longing, and prayers of the world. And nestled among them, Lucien's own dream flickered steadily, refusing to fade. The boy lay back down in the meadow. He listened to the hush of the sky, the faint rustle of the painter's brush, and the quiet rise of dreams that drifted upward like fireflies. Sleep found him there, in the meadow, beneath a sky painted with the colors of hope. Shadows on the horizon. The days passed quietly, though Lucien's nights no longer felt ordinary. Every evening, he hurried to the meadow, eager to see the sky painter at work. And each time, the brush swept across the heavens in arcs of light, painting stars born of dreams. Lucien's heart was lighter than it had ever been. They were alive, nourished by the hidden longings of the world. But one evening, as the sun slipped away and shadows deepened across the meadow, something felt wrong. The stars did not bloom as brightly. The velvet sky looked dull, as though a thin veil of smoke had stretched across it. Lucien climbed the hill where he always found the painter. The tall figure stood waiting, brush in hand. Yet the brush seemed dimmer, its glow unsteady. When the painter raised it to the heavens, the trail it left was not the pure gleam of silver Lucien had come to love. Instead, smudges of gray spread outward, staining the night like ashes scattered across paper. Lucien's breath caught. What's happening? The sky painter lowered the brush slowly, robes whispering against the grass. Their voice carried sorrow, quiet but heavy. The colors are fading. Lucien stepped closer, heart pounding. But why? I thought dreams were always rising. I thought there would always be enough. The painter's hooded head bowed. There should be. Yet tonight the air is thin with silence. Too many dreams are left unspoken. Too many hopes locked away. Hearts weighed down by regret do not release their light. Instead, they sink, heavy and dark, leaving the sky starved. Lucien looked up again. The constellations he had admired just nights before were faint now, their outlines blurred. Patches of empty space stretched wider than he remembered, like tears in a tapestry. It frightened him. The stars had always been his companions, his secret comfort. To see them weaken felt like watching a dear friend fall ill. But people still dream, don't they? He asked, desperately. Even if they don't tell anyone, even if they keep it hidden inside. The painter touched the dim brush gently, as if it were a living thing in need of care. Unspoken dreams are like seeds never planted. They stay buried, never given the chance to grow. Regret is heavier, still it anchors wishes deep in the earth where no light can reach. When regret fills too many hearts, the dreams cannot rise. And without dreams, there is nothing for the brush to gather. Lucien wrapped his arms around himself. He thought of the villagers' faces he knew well. The baker, who frowned at the dough more often than he smiled. The old blacksmith, whose eyes seemed clouded with something he never said aloud. Even his grandmother, quiet and kind, sometimes stared at the fire as though remembering something. Lost. Perhaps they were filled with these heavy, silent regrets. Perhaps their dreams were still there, but locked away, never lifted upward. His chest ached. But the sky, he whispered, looking again at the dim heavens. If it keeps fading, will happen. The painter's voice dropped lower, a hushed wind across the hill. The night would grow empty. Shadows would spread where light once lived. The world needs its stars. Without them, the night becomes only darkness. Lucien's small fists clenched in the grass. He could not imagine such a world. The thought of a sky stripped bare filled him with dread, as though something precious inside him would vanish too. I don't want that to happen, he said fiercely, his voice breaking with both fear and determination. I won't let it. The painter turned, their hooded face unreadable, yet Lucien felt the weight of their gaze settle on him. And what could you do, little dreamer? Lucien hesitated. He was only a boy. His hands were small, his voice often overlooked. But the ache in his chest told him he could not stay silent. I can gather them, he said at last, the words tumbling out quickly, desperately. The dreams that are stuck, the ones people don't let out. I'll go to the villagers. I'll listen. Maybe they'll tell me what they never tell the sky. And then I can bring them to Uso. Your brush will never run out of light. The painter was still for a long time. The meadow rustled quietly with the night breeze. Finally, they lifted the dim brush, studying its faltering glow. It is no small task you speak of. To coax dreams from silence is harder than painting stars. People guard their wishes, especially the ones closest to their hearts, and regret is not easily lifted. Lucien swallowed hard. He thought of his grandmother's faraway stare, the blacksmith's tired eyes, the baker's sighs. He thought of how heavy those regrets must feel inside them, how much courage it would take to speak them. I know, he said quietly, but someone has to try. The sky painter lowered the brush and rested the handle lightly against the ground. Sparks flickered weakly where it touched, like embers struggling not to die. You are young, Lucien, the painter murmured, and yet your heart is bold. Perhaps boldness is what the world needs most of all. If you gather dreams, whether whispered hopes, forgotten wishes, or even regrets turned into light, can weave them into the sky, and the stars will live again. Lucien felt a fierce heat in his chest, part fear, part pride. He had never been asked to carry something so large, so fragile. Yet he also knew, deep down, that he could not walk away. I'll do it, he whispered. His voice trembled, but it was steady. I'll gather as many dreams as I can. I'll bring them to you. The painter raised the brush again, and for a brief moment, its glow brightened as, though strengthened by Lucien's promise. Then the light dimmed once more, fading into gray. Then go, little dreamer, the painter said. The sky waits for you. Lucien looked upward. The heavens were still faint, still wounded with smudges and gaps. Yet, as he gazed, he felt a tug. In his chest, stronger than before, the stars were not just companions anymore. They were a responsibility, a calling. The boy who had once lain quietly in the meadow, content to dream alone, now carried a new purpose: to remind others how to dream, so the night would never lose its light. As he turned to leave the hill, Lucien glanced back once more. The sky painter stood tall, brush held in hand, a patient guardian awaiting the return of hope. And though the sky above was dim, Lucien swore he could see a flicker one star burning more brightly than the rest. His star, watching, urging, reminding him that even the smallest light could matter. With that comfort in his heart, Lucien walked down the hill toward the village, ready to begin. Gathering colors of the heart. The morning after his promise to the sky, painter Lucien woke with a quiet determination humming in his chest. The crystal vial gleamed faintly in the sunlight where it rested by his bedside, as if reminding him of the task ahead. Dreams, the painter had said, could keep the sky alive, but only if they were spoken, shared, set free. Lucien began with the baker, who always seemed so busy, kneading dough and dusted in flour that he rarely lifted his eyes to the horizon. When Lucien asked, almost shyly, what secret wish he carried, the baker hesitated before smiling softly. I want to make something that brings not just comfort, but joy, he confessed. A pastry so light it feels like laughter on the tongue. As he spoke, Lucien saw the faint shimmer of a golden thread rise from his words, bright as morning sunlight. He caught it gently in the vial, and it glowed like a spark of warmth inside the glass. Next, Lucien visited the blacksmith. The man's hands were always darkened with soot, his forge echoing with the clang of necessity, horseshoes, hinges, tools. When Lucien asked about his hidden dream, the blacksmith's face softened, almost boyish in its longing. I have always wished to make something beautiful, he admitted quietly. Not only strong, not only useful, perhaps a bird of iron with wings that could glimmer in the light. As the words left his lips, a deep blue shimmer rose and twined in the air, glowing with the strength of steel and the tenderness of yearning. Lucien carefully guided it into the vial, where it pulsed like a heartbeat. Children, too, carried dreams, though theirs were fragile as moth wings. A little girl whispered her wish that her lost friend might return, while another boy spoke of wanting to build a kite that could climb higher than the tallest tree. Each dream released a glimmer of light, pale and silver, or bright and crimson, and each one nestled into the vial until it began to sparkle like a constellation caught in glass. As the days passed, Lucien discovered that people carried dreams in layers, some hidden beneath laughter, others buried beneath silence. The innkeeper wished she could travel the world. The shepherd longed for music to fill his lonely hills. The seamstress dreamed of sewing a gown that could make someone feel as radiant as the moon itself. Every confession left Lucien awed at how even the simplest hopes shimmered with their own brilliance. Sometimes, a villager would resist, shrugging and saying they had no dreams left to share. Lucien would smile patiently, asking gentle questions, until, slowly, something surfaced, a forgotten wish, a quiet desire, a longing they thought too small to matter. Yet when spoken, these small dreams shone just as bright as the grand ones. By evening, Lucien would return to the meadow and tip the vial into the sky painter's waiting hands. The painter would swirl the collected light across the heavens, and Lucien watched as each dream blossomed into stars, scattering across the canvas of night. A child's wish became a silver streak darting across the sky, while the baker's golden laughter glowed as a new cluster of starlight. Lucien's heart swelled with wonder. He realized now that every dream, no matter how small, no matter how fragile, carried its own hue, its own spark, its own essential place in the sky. And in helping others speak them aloud, he had not only gathered light for the stars, but also given the villagers something they hadn't realized they had been missing, the reminder that hope still lived within them that night. As he lay beneath the fresh-painted constellations, Lucien held the empty vial to his chest. It pulsed with warmth, though no light remained inside, as if the dreams themselves had left behind their gratitude. He drifted to sleep, smiling, the meadow above him ablaze with the living colors of the heart. The Festival of Falling Stars. The longest night of the year arrived like a whisper across the village. Twilight lingered, soft and lingering, and the air carried a hush of expectation, as if the world itself were holding its breath. Lucien could feel it deep in his chest. Tonight, the sky painter would unveil something extraordinary. The boy hurried through the meadow, clutching the crystal vial close. It was fuller than it had ever been, brimming with the hopes, longings, and secret dreams of every villager he had visited. The light inside pulsed gently, as if it had a heartbeat of its own, waiting to be released. The painter was already there, standing tall against the rising indigo sky. Their robes shimmered like liquid twilight, and the brush they held glowed faintly, quivering as though it sensed the weight of what was to come. Lucien approached with reverence, holding the vial out. "Are you ready, little dreamer?" the painter asked, their voice calm, yet full of an energy that made the stars themselves seem to lean closer. Lucien nodded, his eyes wide. "I've brought all the dreams." Carefully, the painter tipped the vial. A cascade of light poured from it, spilling into the brush like liquid starlight. Colors intertwined, weaving golds, silvers, blues, and pale whites, each one pulsing with the heartbeat of a human hope. Lucien gasped as the brush absorbed the light, glowing brighter than any star he had ever seen. The painter lifted the brush to the sky and began to sweep it across the heavens. At first, the strokes were gentle, arcs of silver, as though tracing the outline of a story. Then they bloomed into constellations that shimmered and twinkled, twisting into shapes the villagers would never name but somehow recognize. A fox curled in the stars, A soaring bird stretched across the horizon, and a river of tiny lights snaked through the sky like liquid diamonds. Lucien's breath caught as the first shooting star fell. It traced a golden path, a trail of someone's secret laughter, warming the hearts of those still awake in the village below. Another followed, this one pale blue, carrying the tender hope of a lost friend returned. Soon the sky was alive with streaks and flares, as though every whispered dream had taken flight, falling gently into the world like lanterns drifting down a river of night. The villagers had gathered without knowing why. They stepped out of their homes, faces turned upward, mouths opening in quiet awe. Mothers held children in their arms, couples paused in the streets, and even the elderly leaned on their canes, their eyes reflecting a light they had not seen for years. None of them knew their dreams had guided the painter's hand. None of them realized that the constellations themselves carried the longings of their hearts. Lucien stood beside the sky painter, feeling the vibration of the night sky, the pulse of every hope released. "It's beautiful," he whispered. Painter nodded. "It is not my beauty, little dreamer. It is theirs, their courage to dream aloud, even for a moment. That is what gives these stars their glow." As the brush swept across the heavens, the colors deepened and merged. Golden laughter intertwined with silver longing. Pale hopes mingled with streaks of bold desire. Shooting stars fell faster now, like tiny lanterns released from invisible hands, each one bringing warmth and wonder to someone below. Children laughed, pointing at the glowing arcs, while adults felt something inside them lift, a weight they had carried unknowingly for years. Lucien turned to watch the villagers. Some stared in silence, others whispered to one another, but all of them felt the strange, unexplainable magic of seeing their own dreams reflected in the sky. And somewhere deep in his chest, Lucien realized something wonderful. He had been the bridge between the world below and the heavens above, the one who had carried the colors of the heart to life. The sky painter worked tirelessly, their strokes growing broader, richer, more confident. Lucien could see how the brush drank in the colors of the vial and transformed them into radiant constellations, shooting stars and streams of glowing light. The entire sky seemed to hum with energy, alive in a way that was almost musical, as though every dream had become a note in an infinite symphony. Hours passed like a single heartbeat. Lucien never tired. He stood in the meadow, watching as the sky deepened into a tapestry of light and color. At last, the painter paused. They lowered the brush, letting the final trails of stars settle in place. The heavens shimmered like a living painting, constellations glowing softly, shooting stars still drifting downward as gentle reminders of hopes realized. The villagers looked up for a long time in silence. Some pressed hands to their hearts, feeling a warmth they could not name. Others whispered to loved ones, pointing out shapes in the stars that seemed eerily familiar. Yet none guessed the truth. Their own secret dreams had guided this magnificent spectacle. Lucien breathed deeply, feeling the cool night air on his face. The weight of the crystal vial was gone, but inside him, a quiet fire glowed, the same warmth he had felt when he first discovered the sky painter, now multiplied by the joy of every hope he had gathered. The painter looked down at him. There, hooded face, unreadable, yet Lucien sensed pride there. "You have done well, little dreamer," they said softly. "This night will be remembered not because I painted it, but because the people dared to dream." Lucien nodded, eyes fixed on the stars. I never imagined it could look like this," he admitted. "I thought dreams were only for keeping inside, but now I see when they're shared, they shine brighter than anything else." The sky painter smiled in their voice, if not in their face, and that, Lucien, is the greatest lesson of all. Dreams are not just for ourselves, they are for the world. They are the light that keeps the night alive. Lucien's gaze swept across the village below. Children laughed, adults pointed to sparkling arcs overhead, and even the animals paused, as if sensing the quiet magic in the air. Somewhere in the laughter, in the gentle sighs of wonder, Lucien knew the villagers were seeing themselves in the sky, not just their hopes, but their courage, their love, their joy. The boy who had once only watched stars from the meadow had become part of something larger. He had carried light from the hearts of those around him and sent it soaring to the heavens. And as the first hints of dawn brushed the edges of the sky, the constellations shimmered still, steady and alive, like a promise that dreams, once spoken, could never truly fade. Lucien leaned back on the cool grass, exhausted and elated. The sky painter lowered the brush one last time and touched the ground lightly, letting the remaining glow settle like gentle embers. "You have done more than I could have asked," the painter said. "Remember this night, little dreamer. Remember that even the faintest hope has power beyond measure. And never forget, every star in the sky began as a single dream, fragile and small, just like yours." Lucien closed his eyes, letting the sounds of the village, the shimmer of stars, and the gentle hum of the painter's presence wash over him. Tonight, he had learned that hope was not something to be kept hidden. It was a gift, a bridge, a light that could travel farther than anyone imagined. And in the meadow beneath the festival of falling stars, Lucien fell asleep with a heart full of wonder, knowing that the sky above would always remember him and the dreams he had helped bring to life. The painter's promise. The festival of falling stars had passed, but the glow of that night lingered in Lucien's heart, even as the sun rose and the villagers returned to their daily lives. He felt a quiet rhythm, a pulse beneath the ordinary, the sense that the world was richer, alive, with invisible threads of hope and color. When he returned to the meadow the following evening, the sky painter was waiting. The tall figure's robes shimmered faintly, catching the twilight-like liquid moonlight. The brush they held now seemed calmer, steadier, as though the painter had finally breathed after the long work of the festival. "You have done well, little dreamer," the painter said softly. Their voice carried the warmth of the night itself. Your courage, your patience, and your kindness have given life to the sky. You have gathered dreams that would have faded, whispered wishes that would have gone unheard, and yet you carried them here, bright and unbroken. Lucien's chest swelled. He had not thought of himself as brave, only as a boy who loved the stars. Yet the painter's words made him feel taller, somehow part of the infinite sky, part of the stories it held. I only did what I could, Lucien said, voice small but steady. I wanted the stars to shine again. The painter nodded, then reached into the folds of their robes. From the hidden folds, they drew a small object wrapped in soft silver cloth. Carefully, they handed it to Lucien. He unwrapped it to find a tiny brush, delicate and silver, its bristles gleaming like threads of moonlight. This, the painter whispered, their voice carrying a gentle echo of the night itself, is yours. A gift for the heart that gathers and the hand that shares. Every dream spoken, every wish given to another, feeds the sky. Remember this, even the smallest act of hope will keep the heavens alive. Lucien's fingers closed around the brush. It was lighter than he imagined, yet he felt a strange warmth pulse from it, like the heartbeat of the very stars themselves. He looked up at the sky, now dotted with constellations, each one shimmering with the colors of human hearts, and understood what the painter meant. The sky was alive because people dared to hope, and he was part of that chain, part of the light that never truly faded. From that day on, Lucien became the village's quiet dream gatherer. He wandered through cobbled streets and sunlit fields, not with urgency, but with the gentle attentiveness of someone who knew how precious every word and every wish could be. A shy girl whispered of painting a mural no one would ever see, and Lucien tucked the color of her hope into his silver brush. A baker shared his secret wish for a loaf that would make people laugh with joy. A tailor confided in him the dream of sewing a cloak that could make someone feel brave. Each time, Lucien felt the brush respond, a faint shimmer rising from the tip, as though it knew the weight and brightness of the dream being offered. The village itself seemed to glow a little more softly with each act, as though the invisible threads of hope stretched from heart to heart, binding them together in quiet understanding. Nights were his favorite. Lucien would lie in the meadow, the silver brush resting beside him, and look up at the constellations. Sometimes he would dip the tip into the air, gently coaxing colors from a dream he had collected that day. Tiny arcs of light would twirl upward, merging with the stars, weaving their own stories into the living tapestry above. The villagers often paused without knowing why, staring upward in wonder, feeling the warmth of their own dreams reflected. In the sky, they did not see Lucien working, nor the silver brush that carried their hearts to the heavens. Yet, in every smile, every sigh of awe, the boy's quiet labor was mirrored. One night, when the moon hung full and luminous above Lucien, lay back in the grass, the silver brush at his side. He traced patterns in the soil with his fingers, thinking of the painter, thinking of the festival, thinking of every dream he had gathered. A soft breeze whispered across the meadow, rustling the grass, as if the sky itself were exhaling in gratitude. Lucien closed his eyes and imagined the stories of every star, the laughter of the baker, the courage of the tailor, the gentle hope of the children. He thought of the colors mingling, golden with silver, blue with pearl, each one a heartbeat in the great night. And he felt, for the first time, a deep, unshakable certainty. He had found his place in the universe, not above it, nor apart from it, but as a quiet guardian of its light dot in his dreams. He saw the sky painter smiling, their brush painting new galaxies with ease. But Lucien knew now that he too was a painter in his own way. Every dream he carried, every secret hope he nurtured, added a stroke of color to the infinite canvas above, and the sky, vibrant and alive, would always remember him. From then on, every night became a gentle ritual. Lucien would collect the whispered wishes of the villagers, fold them into the silver brush, and watch as the light danced upward into the constellations. No longer a festival or spectacle. It was simply life, quiet, patient, luminous, and each morning, as the first light of dawn kissed the village rooftops, Lucien would return the brush to its place by his bedside, knowing it would rest until another wish needed its touch. Years passed, yet the sky never dimmed. Children grew, elders aged, and yet the constellations remained steadfast, carrying the echoes of dreams, long spoken and new ones waiting to rise. And every night, Lucien lay beneath that brilliant sky, listening to the soft music of falling stars, feeling the gentle pull of hope, love, and endless possibility. The final truth settled in his heart like a quiet promise. The world could always be brighter if only one was willing to notice, to listen, to gather, and to share. And the stars, forever painted with the colors of the human heart, shone in gratitude for the boy who learned to care enough to keep them alive. Lucien smiled, brushing a stray lock of dark hair from his eyes. The silver brush rested lightly in his hand, humming softly with the memory of every dream it had carried. He gazed upward, and the heavens unfolded before him, a tapestry of hope stretching beyond the horizon, endless and alive. And as he drifted to sleep beneath the sky he had helped illuminate, Lucien knew this simple truth. Dreams, when shared, are never lost. They are forever carried on the wind, painted across the stars, and held gently in the hands of those who dare to believe. The night was alive with light, the stars shimmered with stories, and Lucien, quiet dream gatherer of the village, lay beneath them, heart full, knowing that he had helped the world shine brighter than it had ever known. And as Lucien drifts to sleep beneath the shimmering sky, remember every dream shared, every hope whispered, keeps the night alive. Rest now and let your own stars shine.